Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that could literally save your life. Surviving extreme cold. When the temperature plummets and you find yourself in a dangerous situation, your first instinct might be to try and generate heat. Maybe by desperately rubbing your hands together or doing jumping jacks. But here's the critical shift in mindset you need to make. In a true survival scenario, retaining the heat your body already has is far more important and far more efficient than trying to create new heat. Your body is a natural furnace, constantly burning calories to keep your core temperature stable. Your mission, should you find yourself stranded in the cold, is to become the world's best insulator. You need to trap every last bit of that precious warmth. Losing that core heat is what leads to hypothermia, and that's the real enemy out there. So, forget about frantically trying to start a fire with frozen fingers for a moment. First, let's focus on building a protective bubble around yourself. Let's start with the absolute foundation of cold weather survival: layering your clothing. You've probably heard this advice a million times, but do you know why it's so effective? It's not just about piling on thick sweaters. The magic of layering lies in a simple scientific principle: trapped air. Air is a fantastic insulator. When you wear multiple, relatively thin layers, you create pockets of air between each one. Your body heat warms up this trapped air, and it forms a thermal barrier that slows down the rate at which warmth escapes. Think of it like the double-paned windows in a house. It's the air gap in the middle that does most of the work. So, how do you layer correctly? It's a three-part system. First is the base layer, the one directly against your skin. The job of this layer is to wick moisture away. This is crucial. If you start to sweat, and that sweat stays on your skin, it will cool you down incredibly fast. Cotton is a huge no-go here. It absorbs moisture and holds it, which is why we have the saying, cotton kills. You want synthetic materials like polyester or natural fibers like merino wool? They pull sweat away from your skin, keeping you dry and warm. Next up is the mid-layer. This is your primary insulating layer. Its job is to do the heavy lifting of trapping that body heat. Think fleece jackets, down vests, or thick wool sweaters. These materials are excellent at creating loft, which just means they're full of tiny air pockets. You can even wear multiple mid-layers if it's exceptionally cold. The key is to have something fluffy and substantial to hold that warm air close to your body. Finally, you have the outer layer, or the shell. This layer's purpose is to protect you from the elements: wind, rain, and snow. Wind is a notorious heat thief. It strips away that layer of warm air you've so carefully built up, a process called convection. A good shell layer should be windproof and, ideally, waterproof, or at least water-resistant. If your insulating mid-layers get wet, they lose almost all of their thermal properties. So, this outer shell is your armor, protecting your precious insulation from the outside world. Remember, you can always add or remove layers to regulate your temperature. If you start moving and feel yourself beginning to sweat, take off a mid. Getting sweaty is your enemy. Stay dry, stay warm. Now, what if your clothing isn't enough, or you're caught without proper gear? This is where your environment becomes your toolkit. You need to build a shelter. And I'm not talking about a log cabin. I'm talking about a quick, effective debris hut. The principle is the same as layering clothes. Trap air to create insulation. A debris hut is one of the most effective and primitive survival shelters you can make. Find a downed tree or a large rock to use as a ridgepole or a wall. Then, start piling branches against it to create a framework. Make it just big enough for you to squeeze inside. A bigger shelter means more air your body has to heat, which is inefficient. Once you have the frame, the real work begins. You need to pack it, and I mean really pack it, with insulating material. This is the debris part. Gather dry leaves, pine needles, moss, ferns, anything that's dry and can create loft. The thicker the walls of your shelter, the better the insulation. We're talking at least a foot thick, and ideally 2 or 3 feet if you have the time and materials. Pile it on top, on the sides, everywhere. Then you need to do the same for the inside. Create a thick mattress of the same dry, leafy material to insulate you from the cold, hard ground. The ground will suck heat out of you faster than the air will, a process called conduction. You want at least a foot of compressed debris between you and the earth. Crawl inside, and then pull a pile of leaves in after you to plug the entrance. It might be cramped and uncomfortable, but a well-built debris hut can keep you surprisingly warm, raising the internal temperature by 20, 30, or even 40 degrees Fahrenheit compared to the outside. It's a lifesaver. Let's talk about some modern gear and simple hacks. One of the most valuable, lightweight items you can carry in a survival kit is a Mylar space blanket. These things look like a piece of tinfoil, but they are incredibly effective. They work by reflecting your body's own infrared radiation, your heat right back at you. When you wrap yourself in one, it prevents a massive amount of radiant heat loss. You can use it as a liner inside your sleeping bag, wrap it around your torso under your jacket, or use it to line the inside of your debris shelter, creating a highly efficient radiant barrier. They're cheap, they weigh almost nothing, so there's no excuse not to have a couple in your car, your backpack, and your home emergency kit. Here's another great trick. The personal heater bottle. If you have a way to heat water, maybe you were able to get a small fire going, or you have a camp stove, heat some water, but don't boil it. Pour it into a sturdy, leak-proof water bottle, something like a Nalgene bottle. Make sure the lid is screwed on tight. Now you have a portable personal heater. Tuck this bottle into your jacket, near your core, or place it in your sleeping bag by your feet. It will radiate a steady, gentle warmth for hours, and it's a huge morale booster. It uses the principle of conductive heat transfer in your favor. Just be careful not to make the water so hot that it could burn you through the plastic. What if you're stuck in an urban environment, perhaps in a car that's broken down in a blizzard? The same principles apply. Don't leave the car unless you have to. The car itself is your first layer of shelter from the wind. Now, look for insulation. Cardboard is a fantastic insulator. If you have any boxers, tear them up, shove cardboard under your clothes, use it to cover the car windows to reduce heat loss, and lay it on the floor and seat to insulate you from the cold surfaces. Newspapers, floor mats, anything you can find can be used to create those vital air gaps and block conduction. Again, it is all about stopping your body heat from escaping into the cold metal and glass of the vehicle. And let's not forget the simplest technique of all. Something animals have been doing for millennia. Huddling. If you are with another person or a group, huddle together for warmth. By pressing your bodies together, you drastically reduce the amount of surface area that's exposed to the cold air for each person. You also share body heat. This can make a life or death difference. You're essentially creating a larger, collective body that is much more efficient at retaining heat than several individual bodies. If you're alone, you can achieve a similar, though less effective, result by curling up into the tightest ball you can. Pull your knees to your chest and wrap your arms around them. This is called the heat escape lessening posture. Or help? It minimizes your body's surface area, protecting your core, your neck, your groin, and your armpits areas where you lose heat fast. So to recap the survival mindset, your body is the furnace, and your job is to be the insulation. First, layer your clothing properly with a wicking base, an insulating mid-layer, and a protective shell. Second, if you're exposed, build a small, thick-walled debris hut to trap air and insulate you from the ground and wind. Third, use modern tools like Mylar blankets to reflect your heat and a hot water bottle to provide direct warmth. Fourth, improvise with materials around you, like cardboard in an urban setting. And finally, use your own body and the bodies of others to minimize heat loss by huddling or curling into a ball. Focusing on retaining heat rather than desperately trying to generate it is the smartest, most energy-efficient strategy. It's what will keep your core temperature stable and keep you alive until help arrives. Stay safe out there, prepare for the worst, and always respect the power of the cold. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this information valuable. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more survival and preparedness content. Let me know in the comments if you have any other cold weather survival tips you'd like to share. See you in the next one!